Hello and welcome to the True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North, and I'd like to thank the sponsors of the show, Quantum Awakening, Beth Lewis, Anne C. Clark, and our lovely guest who paid to be featured on this episode. Today, I am joined by a true leader, someone who you sit up and listen to whenever he speaks. Steve Bambury is a strategic growth catalyst and associate neuroplastician who helps ambitious founders scale without chaos. With over 40 years of building, growing, and leading companies, he brings hard-won experience as a veteran CEO, technology pioneer, and sales leader. Steve specializes in helping founders who have hit the ceiling move from being essential operators to true board-level leaders, turning their companies into assets that can thrive without them. His methodology blends commercial rigor, strategic governance, and disciplined execution to replace guesswork with predictable revenue, robust advisory boards, and accountable implementation. Steve's background in neuroplasticity gives him a deep understanding of human behavior, shifting sales and leadership from hope and luck to clarity and results. Through structured frameworks, he enables businesses to professionalize operations, make better decisions, and build systems that consistently outperform their competitors. Ultimately, Steve's work is about freedom, ensuring the business serves the life of the founder, not the other way round. He is currently selecting a limited number of companies to work with for the upcoming 2026 year. So if you're a business owner looking to scale without the chaos, now is a great time to connect and a fantastic moment to have Steve here on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks, Megan. It's lovely to be here. Privilege and a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to go against my usual first question, and I'm going to ask you about neuroplasticity. So can you explain what it is, and then how do you weave that into the work that you do with your clients?
That's a great question. So neuroplasticity is the practical application of neuroscience. Neuroscience is one of those new sciences that we've really started to understand, I guess, in the last 30 to 40 years, so much more about how the brain behaves and how it operates. Right. So like I say, the practical application of neuroscience. So understanding human behavior is something I've been passionate about for a long time now. I recently, a couple of years ago, I did a course in neuroplasticity. I was introduced to Professor Justin Kennedy, who is the founder and CEO of the International Organization of Neuroscience. And we got on famously well. I became a certified neuroplastician and have been using what I've learned, not just in that course, but over the years, understanding, like I say, human behavior to be able to, I guess, ethically influence consumer behavior, to be able to help guide people in a direction that's going to allow them to make better decisions.
Right. And I would imagine that would weave both into working and helping the founder of a business, but also then helping to attract clients and for clients to really understand why they do the work that they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, excellent. And I'd practiced the word a couple of times because when I was doing your intro, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't stumble on that word because I actually think it's an incredible word as well.
It is indeed.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I think that will still weave through our conversations anyway. So at the moment, I know that there's some change happening and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that a little bit later in our conversation. But for the moment, what was the defining moment that led you to pursue your true passion and purpose? When did it all start and how did it come about?
Well, that's a great question, Megan. Look, for a long time now, I've been aware that happiness doesn't necessarily come from what we think society wants from us. We tend to place our sense of happiness on what we think society's, how they're going to judge us. The car that we drive, the clothes that we wear, the house that we live in.
Yeah.
because that's our perception of how others see us.
Yeah.
I guess the big moment for me was back in 1987. I was living in the UK at the time, and I'd joined a company, and I was on a fast acceleration path with that company. I'd been promoted a number of times in a very short space of time, and I was offered a role, an international role for them down in the Channel Islands to set up a new operation for their business. I was only young at the time, only in my early 20s, and I'd become, I guess, very successful in my own sense of success. I was doing it. We were about to sell our home and buy a bigger home. I'd just purchased a new car, so I was on that treadmill. Like I say, what I thought everyone else was looking for in my success, and my success was based on those external things. And then we had the crash of 1987, and I'd been one of the last ones onto the company, and I was made redundant, and my whole world fell apart. And I used that as an opportunity to decide at that time I'd been in the UK for coming up for 4 years. Decided that now was the time to come back to New Zealand. But before I did that, I elected to travel for a year. And one of the places that I wanted to go back to that I'd been to in an earlier life was in Africa. And we booked the trip down into Kenya, Tanzania. We circumnavigated Lake Victoria, and there was a real defining moment for me. It was, we were on a safari truck. We would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We would drive for a few hours, and then we would break camp. And we would set up and make ourselves a morning tea and a cup of tea. And we were driving through the Serengeti, and we stopped, and we hadn't seen anyone for the last couple of hours. But within setting up the camp, within a very short period of time, there were children, and they came and they surrounded the camp, and they were watching what we were doing. And these kids had absolutely nothing. They'd made these little scooters out of cans of food that had been left over, and they just had nothing at all. I mean, Tanzania at the time was one of the poorest countries in the world. And I was traveling with another couple, and Bryce and I, we had this Frisbee, and we pulled this Frisbee out. Now, these kids had never seen a Frisbee. And we started throwing this Frisbee around, and they just thought this was magical. And we got around them, and we showed them how to throw it between themselves. And I remember the pure delight on their faces, the absolute joy that they had from something as simple as a little wee round plastic thing.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that, happiness and joy wasn't determined by how much money we had in the bank. It was determined by these little moments. And that for me was a real defining moment in my life, to realize that you didn't have to have anything special to be happy.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to Africa again years later, I took my daughter back when she was only 18 at the time, and we went back and did a project with World Vision, and half my backpack was full of Frisbees. I took these back and I gave them away. We went to schools, and we just had such a fun time with it.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I've got a little tear running down my eye, actually, because I just think I felt that. I really felt that emotion and that moment with you. And I think it's just a beautiful example of how happiness comes from within.
Totally.
It's what we create as happiness in those moments, as opposed to that external moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. It's really beautiful. What a beautiful way to a beautiful way to have an aha moment.
Oh, totally. And look, I've had plenty more since then, and a lot of those have actually happened in countries like Africa.
Yeah.
Where you see the poverty, but the happiness and the joy that's created from very, very simple things.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you came back to reality after traveling for a year, did you go back into the same sort of work, or did you shift gears? What changed for you then?
I came back, and I took a role back in New Zealand, as a sales engineer. I'd got into the world of, as an engineer by trade. When I was in the UK, I got involved in sales and I loved it. I loved the notion of helping people to solve problems as opposed to trying to sell them something. It's about helping them, understanding the problems that they've got, and the problems that your product or service solves, and connecting those dots.
Yep.
If they don't connect, then don't try and force an outcome.
Yeah.
So I got back and got into a sales role, and not long thereafter, I set up my first business. I set up my first business, and that was a very different experience, but one that I absolutely loved.
Yeah. And I could imagine too that it would have been a really beautiful process for you to, having worked for someone for, most of your career, and then having this defining moment, and then coming back and being able to then, I guess, just run your own race and do what you wanted to do and be completely aligned with the work that you were doing and the people that you were working with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's always the beauty, isn't it, of us working for yourself, because you get to pick and choose.
You do.
Yeah. And so from a mental health and well-being point of view, do you think that before, like when you were in that moment of everything was external bringing you happiness, do you think that your mental health and well-being was different to what it is now?
Yeah, very much so. I think, and it's even different now to when it was when I started my first business. When I started my first business, I was still in my 20s. I was still, I guess it was still some of that hangover or that legacy of wanting to prove to myself that I could be successful.
Yeah.
And I was driven by slightly different outcomes. I guess it's a reinforcement of experiences like that one in Africa that changes you over a period of time.
Yeah. And so with the work from your first business to even now, like, has it changed? Like what sort of things have changed for you in the work that you've done? Is it different, or is it just a different focus? What's changed over the years?
Yeah, look, I think as we spend more time on the planet, we can become wiser on the basis that we're curious. I mean, curiosity is a word that I absolutely love. I'm always curious, always trying to learn new ways, better ways of doing things, not being attached to a particular way of doing things, and not being attached to a particular point of view. So you're always learning, always growing. So I think that as I've got older and spent more time in business, I've learned some things. And for me now, it's about giving back. It's about having the opportunity to share some of those experiences, good and bad. We don't always get things right. We don't have to get things right all the time. And some of those greatest lessons that you get in your life are learning ways not to do things.
Yeah. And they're great teachable moments then for your clients and for people that you work with as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so from a mental health and well-being point of view now, like, what sort of things do you do? Are you active? Are you a meditator? Do you journal, or do you do any non-traditional things? What sort of things do you do to make sure that your mental state is always tip top?
Yeah, look, very much so. For me, there's some practices that I follow. I'm a big fan of Robin Sharma, and Robin has written a number of books now. The Leader with No Title, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, the 5 a.m. Club, and I'm a big fan of his work. And he talks about the 4 interior empires. He talks about your heart set, your mindset, your health set, and your soul set. So those 4 elements, and I work on all of those and practice those virtually every single day. There are a number of things that I do in my rituals, I guess, that I've put together. So at least 20 times a month, I start my day at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I love doing things like a gratitude journal, giving thanks and appreciation. And there's always something to be grateful for if you open your mind to looking for that. Filling my mind with positivity. I have not watched mainstream media or read mainstream magazines for years now.
Yeah,
absolutely years. I do read. but I choose, and I'm very selective on what I read.
Yeah.
Organisations like Fix the News, a group of Australian journalists that have put together great news stories. So I read those, and there's always something good to find in the world. I do breath work, meditation, affirmations. So I'm filling my mind and my soul and with good things, and being very selective in what I choose to consume and surround myself with.
Wow, gosh, you've got it all. I'm impressed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I do 2 or 3 of those things. And when you said that you do 20 days a month that you get up at 5 o'clock, is that because you do the 5 a.m. start during the week and not necessarily on the weekends?
Yeah, typically. So Friday evening is typically an evening to relax and unwind and celebrate the week, and we'll often go out for dinner and have some time to catch up and reflect on the week that's been.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more of a relaxing evening, Saturday morning, not always quite so early.
Yeah.
And get up and a walk with the dog and just unwinding and relaxing somewhat.
Yeah.
And then Sundays, I tend to spend time on my Sundays reflecting on the week and looking at all of the good things that have happened during the course of the week. And like I say, if you can always find things to be grateful for, to be thankful for.
Yeah.
If you have your mind open to those, you'll find them. And I also tend to find that the more you look for those, the more they come your way.
Yes.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It does, doesn't it? I find that my husband and I have a nightly ritual where we say what we're grateful for, and I could rattle off a billion things every night, from the day, whereas he's just like, right, I'm just going to say one thing, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, and I think the thing is that when we talk about the gratitude, I think people forget about the small moments, like in winter, I'm always really grateful that I have a really warm, comfortable bed to sleep in.
Yes.
That's just a basic need, and I am so grateful for that. It doesn't need to be all the external. I know it's a physical thing, but it's also a moment in time where, and so I think that when we get into that gratitude piece, I think people think, oh, I don't really have that much to be grateful for, but really, my list is endless every day. Because
Absolutely.
I've just got so many moments in the day to be grateful for.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so easy to take so much for granted, so much of what we have for granted.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, it's those little things. One of my funny little practices is I'm absolutely blessed to have a couple of grandkids that live just around the corner from me here in Sydney. 7 years old, little Isaac's 7, and so he's just gone 5. And having time with them, and we'll head out. We'll might be going out for a baby chino and some banana bread. We cross the road, get to a pedestrian crossing, and cross the road, and the cars stop for you. As they, legally they're obliged to stop.
Yeah.
But I've taught the kids that every time you're crossing and the cars stop for you, to look at the driver of the car, to make eye contact, and to wave out and say thank you.
Yeah.
And I would say that well over 90% of the time, when you do that and smile and wave and say thank you, the person has a big smile and waves back.
Yeah.
And it's just such a simple little practice. But when you smile and acknowledge and appreciate, it comes back to you in bounds. It's like that's one of the fun little practices that we have. And it's always, don't forget to thank the car or thank the bus or thank the truck driver.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because I do that too. When people stop for me at a pedestrian crossing, I always thank them. And I've never, it is, yes, I'm really grateful that they've stopped. Thank you. But I also think it's a moment in time too, where you actually can capture a complete stranger's eyesight and acknowledge them as well. It's a beautiful moment. I love that. I think that's really lovely. Do you know, Steve, I love the other thing that we just spoke about before when you were saying about the 5 a.m. during the week, but the weekends it's not necessarily the 5 a.m. I think that is, I love that there's balance in your life and there's realistic moments as well, because I think sometimes when we're trying to do what we're meant to be doing, we're shouldering, I should be doing this. I think that when we have rituals and practices in place, it's so important to find the things that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what's on social media. It's not what everyone's telling you to do. I think that that's a perfect example of you finding that rhythm that during the week it works, but on the weekends you need a little bit more flexibility.
Yes, totally. And there was a period of time in my life where I would beat myself up if I missed a meditation or if I missed a gym workout.
Yeah.
But the reality is that every day is different.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm also a big fan in the Four Agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote that amazing book. And one of his four agreements is always do your best.
Yeah.
Recognizing that your best today can be very different to what it was yesterday or what it might be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you feel a little bit off, you don't have to force something.
Yeah.
You don't have to beat yourself up because you haven't done it as well as you could have done it or have done it in the past.
Yeah.
Doing your best, I think is just a wonderful way to look at it, and that recognition and appreciation that your best is going to change.
And does that attitude come from you studying the neuroplasticity, like how we giving your brain some space to actually just be where it needs to be at a moment?
Not so much. I think for me, it's just about curiosity, and I'm very fortunate to have some amazing people that become my mentors and become very dear friends, and collaboratively getting together and sharing with each other the things that we're watching or the things that we're reading and we learn from. So we exchange information and then coming across these things and then picking it up and you taking what resonates for you. I love the idea of taking the best from certain things. If I can read a book or watch a podcast and there's just one thing in there that really resonates for me, then I'll bring it into my daily practice, or I'll bring it into my belief system, and forget everything else. It's like, so for me, those practices have come from spending time with people that I admire and respect, and have collaborated with and have introduced me to, whether it be books or teachers that really, really work for me.
And I love that too, particularly in relation to the book, in the sense of sometimes I'll pick up a book. Sometimes I might read a book, but I'm not really great with books. I prefer to listen than to read. But sometimes I'll pick up a book and just open it up at a certain page and read it and get an aha moment, and then I close it. I'm like, great, that's all I needed from that book today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, totally.
Instead of then trying to push myself, I've got to finish this book. I'm like, well, probably found what I needed from that book straight away. So don't make it a stress, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, there's so many more things that I want to ask you, but we might just take this moment to hear from the sponsors. So, and then when we come back, I'd love to start to dive into something that has recently changed in your life, and we'll get a little bit more information about that. So we'll hear from the sponsors, and then we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Great.
Thank you. Welcome back, Steve. Before we dive into the new adventures that you're about to start, what I would love to understand is if you were sitting with someone who was just starting out and they wanted to explore their passion and their purpose, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a great question. But for me, it's about following your heart and following your passions and being true to yourself, not what you think that society is looking for. One of the great TED Talks that I'm an absolute fan of was by Steve Jobs. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with it. He's addressing the students at Stanford University, and it was a period of time that he'd been fired from his own company. He'd come back. He'd come back into Apple. He was starting again. He'd been through his cancer journey, and I think that near-death experience from it changed him. And it's a great TED Talk. And essentially he talks about not being able to join the dots looking forward. Trust that they'll connect when you look backwards. And he tells an incredible story about how he was adopted as a child to a blue-collar family. And his mum only had one request, and that was that they put him through university. So his adopted mum and dad, blue-collar workers, they'd worked really hard all their lives to save up enough money to put him through university. And he talks about going through university and he didn't know what he wanted to do. And he found himself in a calligraphy class and he felt like he was a bit of a cheat. Here he was. His parents had saved up all this money and he was doing calligraphy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until years later that they were developing the first Macintosh computer. And the question came up, what fonts do we want?
Oh.
Now Microsoft had New Times Roman, and that was it. And Macintosh came up with, all these, they had Comic Sans, they had Spaghetti, they had all these amazing fonts. And the designers loved it because they had all these different fonts. If he hadn't been we'd never have had that inspiration or ability to bring those into it. So he says you can't join the dots looking forward, but you can when you look backwards. So I guess the message is follow what, genuinely pulls you in a direction, that curiosity, that intuition, even when it looks and it may appear irrational to others. Do what you love, because great work usually comes from following your heart and following your passion and your purpose.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I think one of the other things that I often talk to people about too is, keep your inner circle quiet and close. Like, don't tell 100,000 people what you're about to do. Just tell the couple of people that are in your circle that you trust, because you're going to get, if you tell 100,000 people what you're going to do, you're going to get 100,000 opinions.
Oh, yes.
And then you could start really doubting yourself. Whereas if you've got a couple of people around you that you really trust, I think sharing those things with them, people who will still challenge you as well, but then you can just quietly chip away and follow a path of wherever it's going to take you.
Absolutely. And I think that leans into another really important lesson, I think, is that you don't have to do it on your own. It's okay not to have all the answers. It's really important to have people around you, and you talk about the inner circle, people that you implicitly trust, people that you love, that are always going to be there for you, and having those people there, whether that be personally or in business. I think in business, we think we have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
If we're the founder or the CEO, then we think that people expect us to know all of the answers. We don't have all the answers. We don't have to have all of the answers.
No. And being willing to admit that too, I think, just shows how an incredible leader can really build trust, particularly a CEO or a founder, in the organization, because people aren't going to sit there then and think, oh, this guy thinks he knows everything. Wow, he's actually showing some honesty and actually sharing the fact that he doesn't know everything. He or she should be saying she as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it takes more courage to do that.
Yeah.
To accept that we don't know everything or don't have to know everything.
No, no. And it'd be, yeah, if you thought you knew everything, then there would be no curiosity in your life. You wouldn't ask questions. It'd be quite boring, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So one of my usual questions, so I'm really going off script here with you today, Steve. So one of my usual questions is, has your path to pursuing your true passion and purpose evolved over time? But given recent events of you having made an interesting move and firing yourself from Growth Partners, the company that you've been working with for a long time, and that a company that you co-founded, so you fired yourself. So can you share with us what's prompted this and what's next for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a fairly recent move, and it's a tough one. You start your own business and you found something and it becomes your baby. I guess you become very, very attached to it and taking it on a journey. But for me, it was like Growth Partners has done some incredible things. We've got developed a proven methodology to help companies to grow. But I've also come to the realization that the biggest bottleneck for ambitious business owners, small, medium enterprises, isn't just the marketing side of it. It's much broader than that. Excuse me. And I've had my own business now for over 33 years, and I've got a much wider experience. I've learned some things. I've learned a lot of ways that work, and I've learned ways that don't, and been able to bring those into my methodology. Excuse me. Let's take a drink of water here. So that wider experience, I'm now able to be able to share with business owners. I wanted to make sure that Growth Partners was in a place where I was comfortable to hand it over to my business partner, who's now leading the company and running the company. I still have a role in the company as a non-executive director and a shareholder, but I'm able to go on and pursue something else that I'm very, very passionate about, and that is helping SMEs to be able to set up advisory boards, to be able to help them put around them people that have got that experience, not just myself, but bringing others in to their organisation based on where they need to be in the direction that they're going.
Right.
And for me, that's about giving back, being able to share some of that wisdom and some of that experience, helping to set up those advisory boards for them, chair those advisory boards. And we've got I'm partnering with a New Zealand company that's expanding into the Australian market. Have got a very, very solid methodology. They've worked with hundreds of companies now with great success. That's my pleasure and my joy and my privilege, I guess, to be able to partner with them and then help companies to set up those advisory boards and help take them through a journey towards their own goals and dreams, and help them to realize that they don't need to be a slave to the business.
Yeah.
And that, business is about freedom. It's about having people around you that can support you and help you and take you in that direction. It's about having purpose and passion and core values that align with who you are, so that you can then go on that journey together.
And I would imagine, being a small business owner myself, when you first start out, you basically, you do everything yourself because you're not really making any money and you've kind of got to do things yourself. I was always grateful that I had to learn a lot of things that I never would have learned before because I couldn't outsource it yet. But the benefit that I actually feel like then is that when I started to outsource some things, it gave me a really good litmus test of, well, what is this person thinking that they can charge me? And do I actually agree with the value that they're offering or what they're actually telling me how long it will take them? Because I've experienced it myself, doing my own books and all of those sort of things. Yeah, okay, so I'm not an accountant. It's taken me a lot longer to do them. But if someone was quoting me that to be a bookkeeper, it was going to take them, I don't know, 10 hours a week or something. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, it'd only take me 5. Like I actually feel like that experience as a small, medium business owner has really helped me to move forward and to outsource.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And so for the advisory boards, then I love that then the business owner can then really sit back and go, okay, well, what do I need to outsource next, and where can I get the best advice from, I suppose.
Yes, well, we simply don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And when we're in business, there are so many elements to business. And we can start a business with a great idea, a great product, or a great service, but that's not necessarily going to lead us to the success that we want. So having people around us that have got that experience in the areas that we might not is the perfect way to look at the growth of that organisation. And you don't want to have people around you that are exactly the same as you. One of the mistakes that a lot of businesses make is that they employ people that are just like them.
Yes.
We can't see our own shadow. And if we employ a whole bunch of people that are just like us, we're still going to have that shadow. None of us can see it, and the business may not succeed as well as it could, it should, or it might.
Yeah.
So there's one of the things I love about setting up those advisory boards is that there's a very well proven, well trodden pathway to understanding what that business might need and what it doesn't need.
Mm-hmm.
So some parts of it, depending on the business owner, are going to have some elements of that covered perfectly. You don't need that. You've already got that. But where are the gaps? Where are the things that are holding you back? What are the things that you don't know that you can bring into bear that are going to give you that freedom to focus on the things that you are really good at, that you enjoy doing, where you ultimately add the most value, and where are the areas that you do need assistance from others that have got different skills.
Wow.
That for me is really, really exciting. And there's a wonderful Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. He's been coaching entrepreneurs now for I think over 40 years, and he's got a wonderful saying that says who, not how. You don't need to know how to do things. You just need to know the right who's. Who are the people that know how to do that better than anyone? Finding them, bringing them into your organisation allows you the freedom to do the things that you love and that you're really good at.
Wow. And so do you think that this new adventure that you're about to step into, do you think that this is your new passion and purpose? Or do you think it's just an elevated version of what you've been doing over the last 40 years?
Look, I was writing in my journal this morning, and I wrote down that it just feels like everything I've done in my life, in my business life, and my personal life, has brought me to this moment. And I feel absolutely privileged now to have had those experiences, those successes and those failures that have been on that journey, to allow me to share with others in the hope that they can follow their passion and their purpose and achieve their goals and their dreams. And I think, it just feels so right. It feels like I was born for this moment. So, to answer your question, I am so excited about this next phase of my life.
Wow, it's so exciting. And so what do you think will change personally for you now that you've got, that you're really stepping into something that you really think is your divine purpose? How will that change for you personally? Do you think the way that you operate will be different? Do you think that I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think there's going to be a lot of change for me over the next year. Being able to take time to be able to find those companies that I feel really comfortable and confident are a good fit for me, because not everyone's going to be the right fit. And it's about understanding the people that are sitting in front of you, understanding where they are in their growth journey, where they want to get to, and whether you're the right fit for them or not. And then being courageously honest with yourself and with others to be able to say to them, look, no, we're not quite right. Whether they're not quite ready, or the skills that I have aren't the skills that they really need to go to that next level. And then being able to connect them with people that might be able to help them in that regard. That's what I love about the world of selling, is that so many people think that selling is about trying to sell something to someone, selling them something they don't need or they don't want. And that's just completely foreign to me. I mean, why would you do that?
Yeah.
No, it's about truly understanding the person in front of you and whether you can help them or not. And for me, that's awesome. I love that idea of being able to work with a number of leaders that are wanting to go on that journey and helping them to achieve their goals and their dreams, because that's what I'm truly passionate about. Accelerating, for me, it's about accelerating the impact of purpose-led organizations. And I've got the real opportunity to be able to do that over the next few years.
And what sort of feelings do you, when you're working with an organization and individuals, and you see them really growing and expanding and achieving what they want to achieve, what how do you feel? Like, how does it actually make you feel?
It's just an unbelievable feeling. It's the same. It's the same journey to the grandkids. The privilege that you have to be able to spend time with them and help shape themselves to become better humans on the way forward. It's the same in business. Yeah. If you can help to work with people that have got a purpose-led foundation, if they've got the right mindset, if they're doing meaningful work that's making a positive impact on other people or the planet, then for me that's such a joy and a privilege to be able to help them on that journey to become better versions of themselves and to make a meaningful impact on the world. That's something that I'm very passionate about, and something that I love to be able to see people grow. People talk about growth, but ultimately organizations will grow when the people in those organizations grow. So helping people to grow is fundamentally important to helping organizations to grow and make that impact.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a little bit the same with the clients when I work with them and help them uncover their passion, their true north. It is just such a beautiful, joyous, I don't know. I was asking you because sometimes someone asks me and I'm like, I don't really know how many words I can use. It's joy, it's excitement, it's passion, it's, it's victory that I feel for these people. And it's a privilege as well. It's Absolutely. A real privilege to work with people to help them on whatever journey that they're on. Yeah, it's really beautiful, really beautiful. Have you got over your career, is there one client in particular that you ever worked with that really blew your mind and you just had like such an incredible, joyous experience working with them?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's pretty hard to single that down, I think. I think if I look back at my early career, the first company that I founded, being able to bring people into that organization and allow them to achieve goals and dreams that they didn't think they could achieve. To be able to show them a pathway to a high level of success to where they thought they could be. So often we place, that glass ceiling on where we think we can get to.
Yep.
And we hold ourselves back unknowingly because we think that that's all that we're capable of.
Yeah.
But there's so much more inside of us. We've just got to unlock that through belief, through that trust, through sharing and helping others to be curious about themselves. So I love in organizations being able to understand, the goals and the dreams of not just the founders and the owners, but the people within those organizations, and to allow them to go on a journey that sees them achieve way more than they thought possible of themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to narrow it down to any one in particular.
Yeah.
Just so many anecdotal stories, I guess, I've got from helping others to be able to do that. And it's such a, like you say, such a joy and a privilege to be able to take someone who's got that, that unknowingly put that ceiling on where they think they can get to. It's like, no, actually, you can do more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And encouraging them and giving them the mindset, giving them the skill set to be able to do that, and then see them achieve it. It's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And do you is that where the neuroplasticity work and neuroscience work can come into with your clients in relation to when they've like hit a ceiling or they believe that they can't go any further? Or is that when you start to use that type of work to unlock where that belief system is or where those blocks are?
Yeah, look, neuroplasticity, it's a that understanding of human behaviour. Something I've been on a journey for a long time. And, the early work I did in my sales career, the psychology of selling and understanding human behaviour. I think neuroplasticity just adds another layer to that. The way, the choice of the words that we can use and the way that we frame them up to be able to achieve a better outcome is all part of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole belief system is just fascinating, isn't it? Of when we're in a theta brainwave between the ages of 2 and 6, it's when we take on all our belief systems, and so it's where we block. We can take on other people's belief systems, and then we can unconsciously carry them through our lives. And it's incredible when you start to unlock those, because that you sometimes, a lot of the time, people find that they've been carrying, I don't know, their grandparents' belief system or something that, they have to live in poverty, and they've realized, oh my gosh, that's not how I need to live anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uncovering that sort of stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so you gave some advice before about someone who's starting out exploring their passion and purpose. So in what ways do you believe that your personal story will impact others? So this conversation we're having today.
Well, that's another great question. I hope that people realise that, I think about some of the things that I look back on my own career and things that I kind of guess I wish I'd known. I think recognising that we don't have to have all of the answers, that, what others think of us at the end of the day is none of our business.
Yes.
And not to take things personally.
Yeah.
So often we take things personally. So I think if, you don't have to die at your desk to be successful. Hard work is important, but not hard work at the sake of family. And friendships and other relationships that you have. So, I hope that, my journey can in some way inspire others. I'm no better. I don't think of myself as any better or worse than anyone else. I've just gone out there and I've done good work, and I've worked on myself. And like I say, not taking things personally, and that personal growth. Growth is a mindset. And that success isn't just about the house that we live in, the car that we drive. Success comes from so many other areas in our lives, from our relationships with our friends and our family, through the ability to have adventure, to have fun. The mentors that we put around us, pursuing our craft, what we're truly passionate about, following that, family, all those things add up to success. So I hope in some way that my journey can help inspire others, and that I continue to have the opportunity to share that wisdom with others, and I hope that they will have a better tomorrow.
I love that. And, it was really interesting when you were talking about all those other aspects of our life, and the work part is only one small aspect of everything that we've got and who we've got surrounded by. So, it was a good, I love that response in the sense of, because you were saying all these other things and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my work is only really a small part of the rest of my life. So, there's so many other things that can give us joy and happiness and fill our life. It doesn't just have to be the work that we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. And I do love to, when you just said, what other people think of you is none of your business. I say that all the time. I love that. It's one of my favorite sayings.
It's a wonderful, yeah.
It is, isn't it? So, we've actually only got a couple of minutes left. I knew that this conversation would fly by. I'm glad that I've got to ask you most of the things that I wanted to ask you. So, but I will ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So, Steve, what is one lesson or truth you've learned on your journey that you wish you had known earlier?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it does come back to that. not getting caught up in the opinions of others, and not looking for external happiness so much as that you need to be content and happy with yourself. I think that for me is just so important. That facade or that mask that so many people put on because they feel that that's what they're going to be judged by. And they're afraid to bring that mask down and show them their true selves. And I think it's just so important to not have that mask, to be prepared to be vulnerable. Because in that vulnerability, that's where you get real human connection. In a world now with AI and technology everywhere, there's still a really important part for that true human connection, and we can really only connect with others if we're prepared to be vulnerable. We're prepared to accept the things that we don't know. If we're prepared to say, I made a mistake, and not be afraid of doing that or being that, because it's human. In doing that, we make that connection, and that human connection to help us to grow. So I've been pursuing that for a long time now, and I think we can still get better at it. I think knowing that earlier in life, I think, is one of the great gifts that we could give ourselves.
I love that. It's really beautiful. Wow, what a way to sum up our conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I knew that our conversation would be wide and varied and steeped in a lot of knowledge, but I'm just really grateful to have spent this time with you. I feel really privileged to have heard all of your background and your experience and just everything that you shared. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. I can't believe that time's flown by so quickly. It's a sign of a good conversation, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And I'd also like to thank all of my amazing and dedicated audience, the sponsors, the supporters of the show. I'm so grateful for all of you. I hope that you all have an amazing and wonderful rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. And again, thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks, Megan. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.